With the Dragon Quest franchise growing out of its niche in the West thanks to the release of Dragon Quest XI and the inclusion of the hero in Super Smash Bros., people are now discovering this franchise and experiencing what makes this franchise so great. The one thing that players of Dragon Quest XI constantly ask for is a way to play the older Dragon Quest games on modern platforms, just so they can experience more of this franchise. Unfortunately though, Square Enix hasn't done a great job of making these options available. Well, let's step back a bit. Let's ask a question. How many mainline Dragon Quest titles can you play on a modern platform? Well, to be exact, only 5, and even then there's some caveats behind the 5. Dragon Quest 1 to 3 on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4, the latter being Japanese exclusive, Dragon Quest X on almost everything besides Xbox, again another Japanese exclusive, and Dragon Quest XI on basically everything. And like I said, there are some games that are basically just Japanese exclusive, so that makes your options more limited. But overall, less than half of the mainline Dragon Quest games are available on a modern platform. That's a pretty low number right there. So how can you play these games? Well, you have a few options to choose from. Option 1. Get a discontinued console like a 3DS or PlayStation. But not only you need to go out and spend money on these consoles, but the games as well, which you are going to pay a premium for. Some of them are expensive as hell, and some of them not so expensive, but even then you're expending an exorbitant amount of money just to have access to these games. I'm not going to go too deep into the exact amount. There's a great video from Sack Chief that I highly recommend. By the way, I make videos for Sack Chief. There's these 2 videos I made for him. Go check them out. You'll love them. But anyways, option 2, the more affordable option, getting these games on a smartphone. And while not all mainline Dragon Quest games are available on a smartphone like Dragon Quest 7 and 9, this is definitely a good option to choose from. But at the same time, I get it. There's people that don't like to play games on smartphone. Whether it's due to the touchscreen interface of the smartphone, or all this free-to-play crap that's on there that basically alienates anyone from the smartphone market, it makes sense why people stay away from the smartphone market. So finally, we have option 3, the free option, Emulation. This, in my opinion, is the best way to experience all the mainline Dragon Quest games. Most of the systems that the games are available on are relatively easy to emulate. But of course, you do need to get a decent PC to go out and play the games on PlayStation 2 and 3DS. But of course, people don't want to play games via emulation. For some reason, it can be daunting and essentially pushes them to do more than just buy the games and play them. So it makes sense when you look at each option why people don't want to partake in these options. For many, they just want to have access to these games on the consoles they currently own and play, to which I think is the main point here, accessibility. If the owners of these IPs just made their games readily available for people to play, then they can maintain their audience whenever that next game comes out. So obviously people who went on and played Dragon Quest XI and love that game want to play more of this franchise, and unfortunately, options are limited. And on top of the newer fans who just want to play these games for the first time, it's also older fans who want to re-experience these games again. There's an obvious demand here, and Square Enix is not fulfilling it. And the thing is, Square Enix is well aware that people want to go on and play older games, as they went out their way to re-release their older games from past franchises onto modern platforms, from the Mana series to the Saga series, the ActRaiser, and eventually down the line we'll be getting re-releases of both Chrono Cross and Live Alive. Square Enix is well aware of this demand here, so it's just frustrating to see them not take advantage with this with Dragon Quest, not being aggressive with this franchise. But to be fair, there's another side of this coin here. As we know already, Square Enix is going to remake Dragon Quest III with the 2D HD engine. And that remake, by the way, looks great. And they said before in interviews that if Dragon Quest III 2D HD remake does well, they'll eventually go out their way and remake games like Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and other games. But my main problem is that it's probably going to take a while for these older Dragon Quest games to be available on modern platforms when they go on and remake these games with the 2D HD look, when there needs to be a more immediate response to have these games available on modern platforms. The longer they wait on releasing the older Dragon Quest games, the more risk they take of losing the audience they've gained from Dragon Quest XI. At the end of the day, this topic is not limited to the Dragon Quest franchise. It also applies to the niche franchises that only have their games on limited platforms. With the growing gaming market, there needs to be a more ambitious push to have these games on modern platforms, especially when online stores on discontinued platforms are on threat of having their services discontinued, which of course makes accessing these games even harder, especially with Dragon Quest. So that's just my opinions on this topic of having older Dragon Quest titles available on modern platforms, something I believe Square Enix needs to be more aggressive on. But I would like to hear from you guys. Do you believe Square Enix needs to have these games on modern platforms to grow the franchise? I would like to hear them. Plus, don't forget to leave this video a like if you agree. Thanks for watching, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care.